Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 433, we're going to talk about Glissa Sunseeker. Yeah, it took me 433 decks to get to Glissa Sunseeker. If y'all remember, I have a list out on... Ooh, I need to update that list. On Tapped Out of the legendary creatures that I still don't have. And the lovely Lisa Canada, I can call her that because that's my wife. She looked at the list and she said, "What do you mean you don't have a Glissa Sunseeker?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a Glissa Sunseeker." And she said, "Really?" And she reaches into her purse and just pops this card out and says, "Here." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, I've pulled this from a pack in Mirrodin right before she stopped playing because she literally, at the time, oh wow, she kind of was Glissa. I mean, she loved elves and she didn't like artifacts, so she stopped playing. Mirrodin was like, "I'm out." But anyway, let's talk about Glissa. She's a 4-mana 3/2. Now, first strike, tap, destroy target artifact if its converted mana cost is equal to the amount of mana in your mana pool. Now, this is a very specific card. Very specific ability, but because it has to be exactly the amount of mana in your mana pool. If you've got 5, you can't tap it to blow up a 3 cost. Okay? Now, just for clarity's sake, I will tell you there is no Mycosynth Lattice in the deck. A couple months ago, that may have been feasible. Now, that card has jumped tremendously. Thank you, Karn. And it's no longer a viable option. The reason why you would want it in here is so that with an empty mana pool and a Mycosynth Lattice, you could just tap her to kill a land. Yeah, it's really, really kind of busted. And if I'd had one to put in here, the deck would have looked radically different. It would have been a whole bunch of untapped target creature spells. Yeah, that's all it would have been. And while not terribly, inventive, it's what I would have done, let's face it. But anyway. But Glissa Sunseeker here, she is an elf, and she does not like artifacts. So let's get with that. Now, first and foremost, there is one card that the first card for the deck was, of course, Liquid Metal Coating. This, yes, it does allow me to do the land thing if I want to, but let's face it, that's just a way to make an enemy. Actually, you start destroying one player's land, it makes the table your enemy. But what this is I guess you could, if somebody gets that cradle off or the ruins they're abusing or what have you. But this will allow her to pop, planeswalkers, enchantments, creatures, things like that. You can just make them an artifact and pop them off. But first, let's get into our ramp, as it were. Now, we've got our pair of elf guys. This is not tribal per se elves, but there are a lot of elves in the deck. Just simply because that's her tribe. That's what she does. Even though it's kind of not what she does, But Frontier Guide. I played this in several decks, and I have actually, the last, I'm going to say month, I have drawn it and was able to turn to it more times than not. And that ability, I'll be honest with you, once I get the 4, I'm doing it every turn because I know, and I'm just ramping. Every turn, I'm going to allocate that 4 mana to do this because it doesn't use any cards, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt there's a board wipe coming. And the Frontier Guide's going to die. And how many lands? Generally, I get 5 to 6 lands out of it before it dies, which is phenomenal. Yeah, ton of mana. I could have used those turns too, but it also helps keep me honest so that I don't overcommit into that board wipe. So let's look at our... Llanowar Tribe, of course, the perfect turn 2. You know, if you turn 1, Llanowar, turn 2, Tribe, turn 3, whatever you want at that point. Uh, so we got Rampant Growth, Search for Tomorrow, Nissa's Pilgrimage, Grow from the Ashes, Ranger's Path, Beneath the Sands. Yeah, we're searching out some lands. And Hour of Promise. And I've got the Dictative Karametra in there because, sure, why not? You know, it has flash. You can play it at the end step. Does help everybody else out. I thought about running a Damping Sphere with it just to be that guy. But since this talks about lands, let's look at our 4 non-basics. Of course, I have the Blighted Woodland, which kind of, you know, into the ramp. The Cycle Land. Now, I like this one. You know, we have, you know, an inordinate amount of creatures in the deck, so that kind of helps out. And then, of course, the Rogue's Passage. So let's look at these creatures, shall we? I guess first we'll look at elves. Seeker of Skybreak is, of course, going to untap her. You can selectively control how much mana, obviously, is in your pool. And then how I use Glissa is I will, if I need to cast a 5-cost spell and I need to destroy something that's 3, okay, I'm going to tap 3, put it in my pool, tap Glissa, pop the thing, add the other 2, then play my spell. I mean, it's kind of what you got to do. But if there's 2 3-drops I need to destroy, that's where the Seeker comes into play. Okay, we're going to throw some elves out here. Wood Elves, of course, should have probably been in our ramp package. The Rex Sage, just a good, I mean, it fit. It's an elf. It doesn't like artifacts. It's in. Elvish Visionary is going to draw us a card. Thornwheeled Archer. You know, people, this card doesn't get as much respect, I mean, until it's on the board. You got that, you know, big flying angel coming, and they're like, oh, that's a, never mind. Dwyn. Yeah, we're gonna say Dwynnen until, you know, I hear a correct way. Helps the commander. Yeah, it turns her into what, a 4/3, and you know you gain life when she attacks for some elves. You know, the Branch Bender. Like I said, hey, turn a forest into a giant tree folk. Jagged Scar. As I said, it's not a, you know, 100% elf theme, but there's a slight elf theme here. You know, Elvish Vanguard, Elvish Aberration. This one I don't mind so much. Yeah, 6 mana is a little much for the 4/5, but the 4 cycling part could actually matter. Dwayne's Elite, Fierce Empath. Now, this I like. You know, search your library for a creature with CMC 6 or greater. What are we going to get? Maybe a Regal Force. Okay? Maybe a Garrick's Horde, so that we can keep playing those creatures. Archetype of Endurance is really nice. Gladeheart Cavalry can be got with it. Creature with a +1/+1 counter dies, you gain 2 life. Now, Taunting Elf's just in there as a, yeah, it's kind of weird to consider Taunting Elf a win condition, but let's face it, it's a win condition. If you can one-shot somebody, now granted the Taunting Elf's not doing it, but everything they got has got to block the elf, and everything else is getting through. So the Taunting Elf, you know, he don't live so long. Karametra's Acolyte, because let's face it, we're playing mono green, and this can add a ton of mana. Now, okay, stop laughing. Yeah, it's a Locust Swarm. Regenerates and untaps it. But, I mean, yeah, you can only use that once each turn. Now, the beautiful part here is the reason why I feel this is worth 1 more mana than, say, Yavimaya Nats. I say that because Yavimaya Nats is next. We play a multiplayer format. So if I pass and the next player attacks me, and I can block with the swarm and regenerate it. Well, regeneration taps the creature. So then I can spend the mana to untap it, and I'm ready for the next player's turn. As where Yavimaya Gnats, now granted, we're still talking amazing blockers here, although we're, in my opinion, way overpaying for them. Will-o'-the-Wisp is 1 mana, but that's neither here nor there. It's also black. Quirion Ranger is a good one. This can untap Glissa, can untap your mana elves. It does a ton of stuff. Scrib Ranger, same thing. I didn't realize that this card had gotten expensive. Back in the day, this was used to untap that 5 mana 8/8 trample thing that didn't untap unless you had somebody had a black permanent in play or something. Then we got Mire Boa and River Boa, because Swamp Walk and Island Walk are real things. It's, 2 of the top 5 colors there. But sure, we'll go removal next. Why not? Let's look at some elf removal here. Here again, it pops an enchantment. The shaman pops an artifact. This is what we're about, right? Natural. This I like, because this gets rid of those indestructible things. Put that forge on the bottom of your library. Thank you very much. Creeping Mold, Broken Bond. We'll get the bad ones out of the way. Needlestorm. I don't really consider Needlestorm bad. It may be suboptimal, but we're playing mono green. We don't have a whole lot of choice here. And 4 damage to all flyers. It is not nothing. I mean, it kills a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, 5 toughness and greater, but if you've ever died to Pegasus tokens, you know what I'm talking about, or fairies, or, and for the really, really big stuff, of course, we have the Hurricane. We're generating some mana, so I figure just destroy target permanent is probably pretty good. Terastodon, Big Daddy. Curse you, CCO. They call it something else. And then we're going to try this new Force of Vigor thing again. It's pretty neat. You can actually... What I love most about Force of Vigor is that it discourages the turn 1 combo. Or turn 2, rather, because it's very easy to turn 1, you drop a land and a Soul Ring and a Vault, and on turn 2, you can just do your thing. I've done it. We've all done it, But, okay. We're just going to pitch a green card, and we're going to take care of those 2 things right now before you untap on your second turn. Yeah, later on, it's probably going to hit a Panharmonicon, a bridge, something like that. And that's fine, too. I'll 2 for 1. Well, actually, it's not 2 for 1. It's 2 for 2. Although, I mean, you can choose 1 target if and you want to. But 2 for 2 doesn't seem that bad for a pitch spell. As where every other pitch spell that we got was 2 for 1. So, I like this. And it does fit the theme of, green doesn't like artifacts or enchantments. At least that ain't theirs. But speaking of enchantments, there's 2 enchantments artifacts that we are playing, in addition to the liquid metal coating. We have the Mage Right Stone. For many reasons. 1, it untaps Glissa so that she can get another tap to kill activation. Just in case there is a ton of artifacts out there, in case somebody does have a Mycos of Lattice. I don't know why they would play a Mycos of Lattice onto a board with Glissa, but hey, it could happen. Thornbite Staff, kind of similar thing. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap this creature. So if there are, those 0-drop, whatever, Midnights, Shield Sphere has gotten, I guess they've all gotten really big since Urza turned them all into moxes. But uh, aspect of Hydra, of course, a super giant growth. And by the way, Mark Winters, this is one heck of an art. I mean, there are some times that you look and you go, I can't tell if that's a photograph or if that's art. Or, I mean, I realize photography is art, but y'all know what I'm saying. A painting or a photograph. And this is just outstanding. Um, Instill energy and nature's chosen, of course, are for Glissa to untap so she can do her thing over and over again. As is Vitalize. Vitalize also works for all your mana elves. You can just generate a ton of mana that way. Upwelling says you don't have to. If you have to save up your mana, like you need to, for some reason, blow up that 16 drop dragon artifact, whatevs, uh, you know, or you need to save up 4 or 5 mana over the course of a couple turns, and Upwelling just seemed like a card I wanted in the deck to let me manage the mana pool a little better. Of course, we're running Regrowth because it's a good card and it gets whatever back. Bonds of Mortality. Hey, it replaces itself when it comes into play, so you're not down a card. And then creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible to end of turn, and that's just a 1 mana activation. So I like Bonds of Morality as a political chip, a bargaining chip, to where if somebody does have indestructible things and you have this and somebody else has your board wiped, because let's face it, we're in green and we don't. Hey, I can make all his stuff lose hexproof, not be indestructible. It seems like a really good bargaining chip there. Then, of course, we got good old-fashioned forest stuff. Primal Bellow, Howl the Night Pack, Blanchwood Armor that has seen better days by you. I don't know. There are cards, and we play a game where the condition of the cards affect their value. And there are some cards, I mean, you wouldn't purchase in real bad condition. But then there are some cards like a Blanchwood Armor. It's not, an expensive card by any means. But the amount of play that this card has on it is heartwarming. It really is. This thing has enchanted. This specific card right here has been shuffled. Who knows how many creatures it's been put on, how many combats it's won. I mean, it has seen some love. And that does my heart good. It really does. To see a card that has just been played. I don't know. I'm old like that, I guess. Fog. Because Fog wins games. Y'all know that. Overrun actually really does win games. And then our last card is Elemental Resonance. Now, I want to talk about this because this, I think, deck number 433. This is the first time I think I've ever put that in a deck. Here again, we're trying to manage a mana pool, being up or down, and maybe I should have a few more dumps, probably, to let me, just in case I have too much mana. Maybe a Walking Ballista type thing, or that green shroudy 1-drop enchantment that was that just hit $20, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. You win the game, 101 mana, whatever. But anyway, this will, at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you can just enchant something. Hey, it helps if it's something is going to be around a while, because the last thing you want, I mean, you at least want to get 4 mana out of it because you put 4 mana into it, right? So, and you can actually get it that turn, because you can cast it during your pre-combat main phase. Oh, no, you can't. You can't get a mana because you're casting this during that phase, and then it's already started. So, yeah, you got to wait a full turn. Huh. Sad face. But, I'm going to give it a try. Of course, we're all going to hope for the best and hope that maybe somebody's got that, 8-drop or whatever. Although odds are, if they have the, Darksteel Forge or a Kozilek, you're probably dead anyway, or you're probably finding a way to kill it. But good, solid enchantments out there. Maybe somebody's 5-drop enchantment. You know, it's going to get you whatever. Like I said, we're going to try it. It may be a slot. It may be a slot that just gets replaced when something better comes along. And this is a very, very cheap deck, by the way. It's listed over there on Architect, and I want to say it didn't even break $50. As it turns out, it's pretty cheap to hate on artifacts and enchantments. Now, granted, if we had gone the hardcore route, it may have, but didn't really. So we're gonna do the thing that we've been doing now. And let's see. Of course, all those are. That's just our basic forest that we're using. Got to have our elf tokens there, right? And then we are going to go put it up, because that's what we do. I'm stepping on the cord. Glissa Sunseeker, number 433. Well, that is what I have got. The next deck I have is something different. It's a Portal 3 Kingdoms one. You know, it's not incredibly... Oh, by the way, if y'all are wondering what the post-it notes are there on those first 20 decks, those are the decks I have listed on Architect. I have started listing every one of these on Architect. Now, most of the recent ones, like the last probably 15, 20 or so, I already own Architect, so I'm starting with one and working that way. So, yeah, it's going to take a while, but I feel that it's worth it. It'll help me to manage the, what's in the deck, what's, just help me manage the collection overall. But right now, I think that's it. It's Tuesday, so it's karate night. So I believe it is time to shuffle and cut.